Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we have, at long last, the championship for the Thrifty Thursday May Melee very best budget pocket knife bracket. So the goal of this whole project has been to find the very best pocket knife that's available under 35 bucks or so. And to do this, I've done a bunch of reviews, 16 individual reviews. And then I went ahead and plugged them into brackets. And so if you look on my feed, you'll see recently I talked about this group of knives, the Tough Light, the P4, the Shuffle, and the Ablate, the Z Hunter, the San Renmu 7010, Kershaw Tremor, Kershaw Cryo, Buck 110, Victorinox Classic, Higo Nakami, Open L 0008, the Ontario Rat 2, Meadow Lock, Spyderco Bird Meadow Lock, Cricket Squid, and Ladybug, and reviewed all of those, and then compared them to one another, and eventually in the semifinals, in the finals, the Kershaw Cryo and Ontario Rat 2 won the day. If you're wanting more details, if you'd like to learn more about more budget knives, go ahead and check those out, and at the very least, check out the finals, because all of those are good knives. But today, we are here to find the grand champion among the Kershaw Cryo over here and your Ontario Rat 2 over here. So, let's just go on ahead and jump into it. Look at what these knives have in common, what differentiates them, and then finally, we're going to make the decision that you've all been waiting for and determine the very, very best everyday carry pocket knife under 35 bucks. Here we go. Okay. So they've got a lot in common. They're both around 25 bucks to start with, which is under the $35 budget. Hey, wonderful. They're similar size, both in the pocket and in the blade. They are both from good manufacturers, Kershaw and Ontario Knife Company. They both have pretty good ergonomics, at least in my hands, and given I got some small hands, but nonetheless, they're both doing really well in the ergo department. Both of them have all your modern conveniences, so like, for instance, one hand close and one hand open, and both of them have clips that can go in any of 4 positions, so right side or left side, tip up or tip down carry, which is a very nice thing. These are both very safe knives, and that's an important thing if you're looking for a budget knife. It's easy to find a knife where it's going to fall apart in your hand, and this or the lock is going to fail, and neither of these are like that. The lock just isn't failing on either of these. You know, certainly not out of the box. Maybe you could really screw them up over the course of many years, but by and large, these knives are safe. They both have good blades that are good for cutting, and they both got decent steels. For a $25 knife, AUS 8 and 8CR13 MOV are just fine. They're not great steels, they're not high-end, but they work. So, no issues there. They both got fit and finish, and so they're just good to go in that way as well. But there are some differences here. There are also some pretty important differences here between these two knives. For instance, one of the big ones is that the Kershaw Cryo is assisted open, which means that when you press the flipper, there's a little bit of spring tension that really helps the knife shoot out there. I'll demonstrate by just pressing on the handle a little bit. You'll see that after a certain point, the spring kicks in. There we go. And pops it the rest of the way in. You can still, it's a weekend assist, so you can still close this one one-handed. But it's making up for the fact that it's very hard to build a good flipper action inexpensively. So that's a big difference. And for some people, and compare that, by the way, to your Rat 2, where it is entirely unassisted. It's a manual open knife. All the power in this knife comes directly from your thumb to open it and close it. So that's a big difference, because legally some people just can't have an assisted knife. It just doesn't work out that way, depending on your country or your area. So that's a big difference. It also means that although the Cryo is much easier to open, all you really need to do is press your index finger against this little tab here, and bam, there it goes, relative to using a thumb stud, which has a little more technique to it. The Rat 2 is a lot easier to close, because all you need to do is use a single finger to close it, as opposed to with your Cryo, where it takes a little more doing, and there's a technique to it. It also means that the Cryo is a little bit more complex, thanks to the assist. Hopefully you can see this, but there's a little door underneath here built into the liner, and under that is the assist spring. And so when you put it back together, you need to make sure you put the assist in right, or you might end up with an unassisted knife, which is just not a great thing. So, well, in this particular case, this is meant to be assisted. A couple of other differences. The Cryo is just a little bit more durable and a little heavier, too. I mean, it's steel on both sides and a thick blade, as opposed to, there's some steel in here, but it's a much thinner blade. So if we look at the two of these next to each other, you can see that the Cryo's blade is just a lot thicker. It's just the way it is. So that's something you got to keep in mind. And because of that, you're looking at a weight difference. You're looking at 4.1 ounces versus 2.8 ounces. Big deal there. You can actually really feel the Cryo in your pocket in a way that you can't feel the Rat 2 so much. So that's good. And then finally, the Cryo, because of its beefier construction and because of its thicker blade, makes for a much better beater knife. If you're going to be hard on your knife, if you're going to really be working hard, your Cryo is probably a better choice, as opposed to your Rat 2, which is a much better slicer. If you're doing any kind of food prep sorts of things, this is going to be a better approach for you. So there you go. So both of these knives are just excellent. I can't say anything less about them. And they're both gems on the Nick Shabazz standards. Absolutely great, and both of them are highly recommended. But at the end of the day, there can only be one. So we got to figure out who that is. So which knife is the final winner? The winner of Thrifty Thursday and the very best knife under $35? Well, that one's hard to say because... No, Bad Z Hunter. No, I already talked to you. You lost this one fair and square. Ugh, I'm sorry. A little pain in the neck. Anyways, moving it along. It's not the Z Hunter, sadly, but it is one of these two. And I went back and forth a lot about this because, and I carried both of them a lot to try and figure this out. And my final conclusion is that the Cryo is just more flashy and it's more fun. I mean, at the end of the day, because of the assisted opening, because of the Hinderer design, because of the overall dark gray, high-speed, low-drag mystique, the Cryo is a little bit more of a fun knife, and certainly it's flashier in the open. But the thing is, the Rat 2 is just a better tool overall. And that's because it's out of your pocket when you're carrying this. It's out of your pocket, it's open, it's cutting, it's closed, and it's back in your pocket before you even think about it. You don't need to think anything about it because it's just a basic manual opening pocket knife. It's well enough made that you got no concerns, and so at the end of the day, it's a little bit boring. But the thing is, boring with a tool is code for trustworthy and frictionless and easy, and you don't even have to think about it. And in a lot of ways, if you're looking for an everyday carry sort of tool, that's exactly what you want. So for me, although the Cryo is a gem, and I highly recommend it to somebody who's looking at that and going, I really like that Cryo, go for it. For me, the eventual winner is not the Z Hunter, sadly, but the Ontario Rat 2 pocket knife, which is just an incredible little everyday sort of tool. If you're looking for upmarket, there are other videos like that. I'll post a link to my very best EDC knife video that goes a little bit more than this. But otherwise, go buy your Rat, or frankly your Cryo. They're both good, and enjoy the heck out of it. I hope this has been helpful for you and that all of my weeks and weeks of budget knife testing has been interesting. And next time we're going to go back to some crazy high-end stuff. So have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day.